Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to the first episode of Coach's Corner, the podcast that helps students excel in their online education. I'm your host for today, Yasmin, and joining me today are our co-hosts, Joe Bogle and Ezeleni Herrera. So in today's episode, we are going to be focusing on overcoming challenges specifically related to pursuing an online degree, because creating an online degree can sometimes feel overwhelming and it takes a village to raise a college student. So we're here to guide you through obstacles and provide any practical strategies for success, especially with finals coming up. We're just a few weeks away from the end of the quarter. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is going to help y'all make it through the finish line. So, Joe, Ezeleni, do you want to just introduce yourself, say hello, say good
Yeah,
morning, afternoon, good night?
absolutely. Where I'm at, good afternoon. My name is Joe Bogle. I'm one of the student support coaches here at campus. We've been here just over a year, and looking forward to seeing where we go. With helping students, actually graduate, and get to, their next step in their success.
Yeah, and
Thanks,
I'm
Joe.
Ezelani Herrera. I'm one of the other student support coaches. Been with campus since November. Absolutely loving it. Been supporting you all for some time now. It's been great, and so excited to start this podcast.
Amazing. Thanks, y'all. Again, my name's Yasmin. I'm also a student support coach here at campus and appreciate both of you being here with me today. So I think what I want to talk about today is strategies and tips that we recommend to our students to stay motivated throughout the program, especially with finals coming up. Right now, we're kind of in the lethargic grind where we're coming to like senioritis of the quarter. So, what works for our students, and how do we coach our students to really stay motivated right now?
Yeah,
Go for
unless
it,
you want to,
Joe.
as a name, you got it.
Nope,
No,
you
no, you
take it
got it.
away.
You got it. I'll go after
I
you.
was just I was just going to add that something that I've noticed that's been working for the students is more so just being that constant cheerleader, like cheering them on and reminding them not how far they have to go, but how far they've come. And then reminding them of like their why and their end goal. I think that that's been keeping them excited and really looking forward to just graduation overall. So I think that that gives them the extra push to just keep going, keep driving that vehicle, and just put their best foot forward and just do their best.
Yeah. I would say for me and like what I've experienced so far, definitely to your point, Azaleni, that reassuring them a lot of the time, kind of just like giving that constant motivation, even when they don't want to like show up for themselves, reminding them of like kind of why they're doing this continuously, but also like the light is like at the end of the tunnel, right? Like, do you have something that you're essentially striving for, after this, right? So this is just a stepping stone. But I think this is really where like kind of like that belief system kind of comes into place, right? Some of the processes, like how do I become a professional student? Being in college is definitely different than being in high school. So what does like that next step look like? And also like, having certain systems in place that we have here at campus, co-curricular, extracurricular groups, all of these other things that folks are kind of able to like, lean into are ultimately going to help them like, with like their next endeavors. Yeah, that's kind of like
Yeah,
where I'm at, and I kind of try to like pull it all together, motivating students.
yeah. Going back to what Ezeleni said about reminding them of their why, or going back to their why, that's so individual for each student. Like, we can have study halls, we can have the resources that we have, but for each individual student, the reason that they're in college is so personal to them. And going back and reminding them, like, why is it that you're here? Why do you want this degree? Why do you want higher education? Like, are you the first in your family to graduate from college? Are you looking for a career? Are you looking to get out of a situation that you're in? Like, college and higher education is a ticket out for so many people, and just reminding them why they are here in the first place when they're in that rut, especially right now when we're only like 2 weeks, 3 weeks out of the quarter. This is really when it starts getting hard. So I love chatting with students about why they're in college in the first place and seeing how, and also looking at the goals that they've accomplished. It doesn't have to be like this
Mm-hmm.
huge thing, but just seeing like the working with students from quarter 1 to quarter 3, the confidence that they've built over the past few months has really been remarkable, and just reminding them not only of because it's so often that we focus on the negative and we're like, all right, you have to get your grades up, make sure that you pass these classes, like finals are coming up, but reminding them too of all of the positives and like, yeah, you aced that test, or you had a 68%, now you have a 78%. Those little wins are really important to remind them of as well.
Yeah.
Just getting them to the finish line.
No, and I think like because this is a marathon and not necessarily a sprint, honing
Mm-hmm.
in on some of those like times when you can gives you more leverage as like a coach once you reach like year two, with the students. And I'm kind of like getting to that point now with them where, like I've known you for like a year or for 8 months or a significant amount of time, like the progression that I've seen you be able to do in this time, like don't take that for granted. Right? Sometimes we can
Mm-hmm.
also like forget like how far we've come, but when we look back, we're like, oh shoot, like I did a little something there. Like
Yeah.
there's some more, there's something there. But I think it kind of works with the students as well, right? Because they're so focused on like what's in front of them, sometimes they forget how far they've come. Whether that be,
Yeah.
getting their grade from a C, to a B, or showing up, they're bringing their attendance from a 70 to an 80. Like all of those little things are definitely wins, and I try to like leverage those as much as possible because you're gonna need it later down when the going gets tough for sure. And for this next term with my students, they're hitting some of like these difficult classes like modern finance and accounting and business law, and it's like, oh, like it's here now. So it's going to be cool to see how they kind of transition from like almost being done with like that first year of like their experience and kind of like transition into like that second part. So yeah, I'm just here for it.
I love that you two mentioned just acknowledging the progress, right? No matter how small the win, medium, large. I think us as humans, we happen to kind of get caught up in this space where we're able to notice more of the areas that we need improvement, which is great. We're able to acknowledge our weaknesses, but I think we forget to acknowledge our strength. And sometimes you need those folks around you to really kind of remind you, like, hey, you're making progress here, you're doing better. And I love that. And I think that they always need to be reminded of that. Um, and they just need, I think the role that we play is kind of that village that's just rooting them on, celebrating them. And I think people just in general need to feel celebrated and give them kind of like that extra boost. And if they're not going to brag about themselves, one thing that we are going to do is brag about them to them in order to give them that extra boost and just kind of boost that confidence and say, don't forget who you are, where you're going, what you have done. And so I love that you two mentioned that.
Yeah, seeing their success helps motivate us as well. It's not just our
Right.
students who need to stay motivated. We also need to stay motivated. So seeing them
Mhm.
succeed is really, it's one of the best motivators in my opinion. And just watching their progress is really lovely. Great. So with that, coming into finals, maybe some of our students might need to advocate for themselves, chat with their support coaches, chat with their TAs or their professors. How would you say that online students can effectively communicate and collaborate, not just with instructors, counselors, TAs, but also with their classmates? Like, how can we build this community where everyone's able to help each other, especially like we're moving into a technology based world where so much is done online. So, how are we helping them communicate effectively online?
Yeah, great question. Um, I think for me, and just like what I've noticed so far, is students that have made it this far, they kind of understand and kind of know what to do as far as like communication goes. But just in terms of what that looks like, is just sometimes being over communicative, whether that be with me, the professors, their TAs around like what's kind of just going on, I think that really kind of plays into like how comfortable they are with being able to converse with, the people that are in their corner and around them. Comfortability and vulnerability certainly play a big role in just like trusting, right? Like, what are you going to do with this information when I kind of give it to you? Are you going to use it against me, right?
Mhm.
So that's just like another big thing to kind of to think about. But ultimately, like I have the best relationships that I have with some of the students, whether depending on like where they're at academically, are the ones that like talk to me. They're the ones that like actually, text back or DM or actually want to set up some time to meet with you. That doesn't mean that they're not necessarily doing great, but that is certainly helpful when you were talking about like building this community, that happens to
Mhm.
mostly be all online, and I can't just like, pop up on you in person. We have to really depend on like this level of online, like, not dependability, but like responsiveness, right? And,
Mm.
so definitely when it comes to that, it's like you want to be as cool as you are or would be in person, right? And kind of just like try to convey like who you are as an individual through a lens, through a camera, most
Mhm.
importantly, through the technology and consistency. So that is kind of like what I see in terms of like communication. That's one of the best things to be able to do. Just be open and honest about yourself because a lot of people and allow people to kind of help you.
Yeah.
You bring up um, the trust and vulnerability part. And for a lot of students, I've seen this like push and pull with not knowing who to go to and what to share,
Yeah.
especially with professors, because like so often there's a negative rap with someone who's an instructor, and that could have like an authoritative type of figure over them, and some students are just not comfortable chatting with professors or sharing information with professors. And I think our role in coaching and supporting students is having the ability to build this really strong bond and relationship with our students and be able to advocate for them when they might not feel as comfortable. And
Mm.
that's one thing that I always tell them is if you need something, come to me first. Like I will help you no matter what. Like I get that sometimes it's really nerve-wracking to talk to someone that you might not feel comfortable talking to or sharing certain information with someone because like Joe said, there's that thought in the back of your mind like what are you going to do with this information, and can I trust this person enough to know these intimate details about my life, like because students have some real life stuff going on.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's the number one is the trust part. Once you build that trust, and it's a two-way street, right? We do our part, they do their part, just keeping that constant communication. But something that I've seen, something that I noticed to be helpful is having conversation that's outside of campus, meaning
Mhm.
what do you do
Yes.
fun this weekend? And consistently getting to know them, their likes, their dislikes, their joys, their passions. And I noticed having conversations with them about their joys and their passions. And we do this during kickoff, right? We ask that question, but always consistently having that conversation allows them to just connect with us on a deeper level than just talking about instruction. Sometimes they just want an escape
Right.
to talk about just any and everything. And so I think that that's very important, but also for them to be reminded of, who you were before you started campus and who you are now, and always tap into those things that bring you passions and joys when things get rough and tough here at campus. Um, but also just something else that I know some of, both of you probably have students that are just more so low key and don't really want to talk and communicate much. And they might be doing extremely well here at campus, but they just want to
Yeah.
keep to themselves. Just having that teachable moment and why it's important to network and have conversations and build conversations with not only your coach, but staff and faculty. So thereafter campus, you're able to understand the importance of building connections and relationships and
Mhm.
how that can kind of play a huge role in your success here at campus and
Mhm.
Yeah. With the way we're communicating now, I feel like there's so little FaceTime and there's so much text, whether it's
Mhm.
through email or DM or whatever it is that we're using to communicate. And I am guilty of this too. Like I often forget that there's someone on the other side of the screen that you're talking
Mm.
to. So reminding our students that effective communication, like over communicate, I would rather someone over communicate with me than under communicate. Like if I don't know what's going on in your life, I have no idea what it is that you need. If you're not telling me what you need, I won't know. So I would much rather, whether it's through DM, text, email, like over communicate that information as long as they feel comfortable and get into the habit of making sure that the information that they're sharing is productive and useful. And also, when we're chatting with them, like as Eleni had said, like make those personal connections as well. It's almost like you're chatting with a close friend at times,
Mhm.
and there's someone in your corner who's there to listen to you, help you, and is on your side.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I think that once you build that personal relationship, I feel like that student and coach relationship, it lets loose. And then you build this comfortability, and then you no longer feel uh, you see your coach more so as someone that you're able to kind of confide in and trust, and that's how that trust builds thereafter is by I feel like any relationship, any strong relationship, time needs to be invested, and for time.
Okay. So, if we could sum it up in a few words, how would you sum up the characteristics of a successful online student, or I guess a successful campus student?
That's a great question, actually. Especially when we think about our students so much. They have so much greatness to them. We'll be here for days just talking about their greatness. But I think what sums up a successful student more than anything, and I tell my students this, is a student that just works hard and just gives it their all and their best. And I always tell students that's all you can do is give your best. Um, just believing in themselves and just pushing themselves to their fullest potential. Um, and then a student that just never lose sight of their goals and where they're trying to go, and a student that not only has goals but their actions are in alignment with their goals. So what are you doing in the now to actually get there? I feel like that's a successful student.
Yeah. I would say for me, it's you just like you just wanna do this, right? Like you just gotta start there. Like, yo, do you wanna be here? Right? Like, is it something that you're doing? Is it something that, you just want to do to put on your LinkedIn? Or like do you actually want like what a degree can do for you? Right? Like we've seen it all, right? So that's number one, is just like, yo, do you actually want to be here? Um, I think number two, and because we're talking specifically about like online learning, like having a degree of like, yo, you know how to work a computer, right? Like you know how to use Google Docs, you know how to send a DM, you know how to send an email. You have like a basic understanding and functionality around being able to use like this tool, this machine that we use every day. And I think the pandemic had a lot to do with like maybe even some like the increased
Mhm.
usage of computers or Chromebooks, in particular, where a lot of students were finishing their high school diplomas that way. So think there's definitely that aspect. You definitely have to be able to advocate for yourself, right? Like I can't always be able to be on this side and telling you what to do, or like telling you what the right thing to do is, or what to write to your professor. There has to be a level of like you not understanding, or you not seeing like something that's like right, and being able to kind of speak out on it, whether it be your attendance was off, or a grade is missing, or a professor still hasn't graded your grade, and it's been the third time now, right? So kind of just like having that consistency along with it. Um, what else is it? I think there's like a level of like adaptiveness as well. So like it's not always going to be like easy or the same way as last term was, right? So there's certainly a level of like using some of the systems and processes that we use now. Like Campus Wire isn't the same as it was like a year ago, right? So kind of just getting used to it, and like everything that it kind of like all the
Right.
different functionalities is really important. Um, and then like
Yeah.
being receptive to coaching, right? Like this is a
Mm.
coaching kind of program. Like how receptive can you be to receive feedback, right? I think that tells a lot about a student, like as an individual and kind of like where they may be in their life. And it's like, hey, I'm not doing this to come at you. I'm doing this so I want you to like see your full potential, right? And actually get out what you came in here for. So like how
Absolutely.
receptive are you to like this feedback and this coaching? Can
Right.
you be? I think that's like one of the biggest things there because it's not always about having the smartest student. It's about having the students that like actually want to try and are willing to
Hmm.
show up. We can do a lot with you if you're willing to show up, right? Rather than us trying to find you. Um, so that would be my top five take.
That kind of goes
The
back to, sorry, Yasmin.
uh,
Go
no,
go
you're
ahead.
good. Go for it.
No, I was just going to say that kind of goes back to what you were saying, Yasmin, as far as like progress. I think it really is. Um, it the progress is what basically dictates a successful student. Are you a much more improved student than you were yesterday? What are you learning? What are you gaining? How are you applying?
Yeah.
You know, the things that the tools and skills that we've been working on to get you to where you're at today. Um, I think that's the biggest thing is just progress. And, their biggest, how much are you
Absolutely.
taking away after campus? Yeah.
And you can point to how much you have changed. And it's not always academic. And I keep coming back to this. Like, yes, it's an academic program. We want to see our students graduate with college degrees, but we also need to remember so many of our students, like, this is the first time to talk about characteristics of what makes a successful student, especially an online student. This is the first time a lot of our students are using a laptop and
Mhm.
navigating all of these new technologies. When I was teaching high school, a lot of our students did not have computers and they were working on their phones. And it was that like perseverance and the tenacity that they had where it was a computer, but I'm gonna write my essay on my phone because it's what they had to do and they did it. And I just want to remind our students and folks that are also working with our students, like, there is so much that they're learning. It's not just academics. They're learning how
Yeah.
to write proper emails, they're learning how to use Google Docs, they're learning how to use Campus Wire. Like, there's a lot that's going on, and I love just seeing them point to where they were before and how much they've learned, and also seeing the connections between all of the different classes that they're taking. I'm seeing like
Uh,
characteristics of a successful student, like recognizing that, oh yeah, I remember learning this in Q1 and now it's making sense because we're like applying it in Q3.
Mhm.
So just having the self-awareness of, oh yeah, we did this and now I'm understanding why we're doing it, and it's not just we're taking the class just to take the class. Like, there's building blocks and the
yeah.
awareness. All I ask is for people to be self-aware.
Love that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I am going
Yeah.
to, any final thoughts, questions, comments, shout outs to our students.
I think the
Shout
last
out to the students.
Yeah, I think the last thing I want to mention is just, you all are going into finals and just set the tone for yourself prior to finals. Really kind of get your head on right and just, clear your space, free of distractions, and understand that this is just temporary effort for, you know, um, kind of like a permanent opportunity and extended of your why. So just, work hard, give it your best, and just, again, you have a goal, make sure your actions are in alignment with it, making sure you're studying, talking with your professor, staff, everything we just spoke about during this, this conversation. Just make sure you implement.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Yeah, I want the best for you. I want the best for you, but I can't do it for you. So definitely be sure to ask for your help and support along the way. I'm not judging you. I'm only judging you if you don't do what you need to do. So do so, and yeah, you have the support. This is exactly why we're here. But ultimately, I think even more importantly, like this is why we're all here. To see the success of like all of our students and kind of like grow this thing out. to like where we know exactly where it can be. I don't think that's the exciting part. That's also the scary part. But most importantly, giving access to people to have like a quality higher education and work with some of like the best professors like all over the country is pretty dope. And like we're able to kind of disrupt higher ed in that fashion. So I can like continue to do that. Looking forward to these.
That utilize the resources that we have. There's so many resources, especially before finals. I cannot stress. Use timely care. Just having someone to vent to and just dump everything on is such a relief. Also, finals coming up. If you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, take a few minutes at the end of the day to write out everything that you're stressed about, and you will sleep so much better. For students who really struggle with anxiety and stress at the end of the day, like write it all out. Take 5 minutes to do that, especially like the day before finals. Deep breaths coming up. You're doing amazing. It's going to be a great end of the quarter. And then it's summertime.
Yeah.
Pass it over to Joe to close us out.
Yeah. Thank you again for joining us. This wraps up our first episode of Coach's Corner. We hope you found some valuable insights and practical strategies to enhance your online education journey. Remember, the path to success may have its hurdles, but with determination and the right attitude and support, you can overcome any challenges that come your way. Stay focused, stay motivated, and keep reaching for your academic goals. If you have any questions or topics that you actually like for us to cover in future episodes, please let us know. You guys are like our constituents. We want to be able to kind of like do this to the best of our ability, but only for if it's content that makes the most sense. And even if you're not one of our students, we'd love to share more information about our degree programs and our student community. You can visit us at campus.edu. And lastly, until we meet again, stay inspired, stay motivated, keep excelling in your dedication and determination towards your education. We'll catch you on campus.
Bye.